All right, you guys are probably getting tired of these talking head videos, but I promise this is the last one, and then we're gonna start driving, hopefully down south to the land of alligators and cheap whiskey. Alabama. But anyway, I just wanted, I keep staring at this business card. So he asked me to mention his name on the video because we met. He paid for my lunch, and I think even had a beer. But then he started doing his thing with the application. But I got approved with the previous guy that I dealt with, right? But I just thought that I would mention his name because he still put in the effort. But this gave me an idea for this video. Is that how do you find the money? Like you have the down payment, let's say, right? But you cannot swing like the entire 100 grand, 150 grand yourself. And a friend of mine got his brand new truck straight from the bank, like the loan. And of course, that's always the cheapest way to go. If you can find a bank that deals with equipment financing and you're lucky to get one of those small business loans, that would be like the cheapest way. But I tried that. It never worked for me because like this guy has a house, right? So that makes a huge difference. But I guess most of you guys have some kind of property, right? So probably that's the best way to go. The cheapest way is to basically apply for a line of credit or loan secured by your property, and then when you have that in place, then you start looking at trailers, right? In my case, I did it the Russian way. I was looking for the trailer first, and actually I found the trailer, right? And that's when I did that video, or actually I think it was a post on Facebook basically, when I said not so fast. So I found the trailer, but I couldn't get financing, because my previous company was afraid to deal with the 60-ton trailers. They said they're too specialized, right? But anyway, so the first would be the bank. If your credit is good and you have something to your name, and then of course second is like what I did. I'm basing this on my own experience. So secondly, I tried my old leasing company where my previous Mac and my trailers were leased. They said no. Okay, then I remember this Kenworth dealer who agreed to do a capital lease on the truck with 10% down. And so I went to them and I called the same lady that helped me with the truck, and I said, you guys do trailers, right? She says, yeah, but it's the end of the month. She's too busy doing truck deals, she probably has like too many customers, and she says there's too much paperwork. And then I had a meeting for half a day on Tuesday. And anyway, so I talked to her Monday. The Monday, Tuesday, nothing. Okay, and she keeps postponing me, okay, I'll get back to you by the end of today. Nothing. I call her in the morning, I'll get back to you by the end of today. Nothing. And then Wednesday, I went after 3 days. She had my info for 3 days. I went into a movie to catch a movie, and of course I switched off my phone, but I prepared a draft saying that, you're fired. And I thought, if I come out of the movie at like around 6, and of course her office day ends at 5, if there's no results, no emails, no I'm sorry or something, or I could not do anything, I'll just send her that I will activate that fire email. And so yeah, I come out at 6 o'clock. The movie was good. Forgot what I saw, but like I'm seeing a bunch of movies now because there's nothing else to do, right? I'm still waiting for my paperwork to go down, grab the trailer. And there's nothing, so I sent her an email. You're fired. I'm working with another broker. And originally I wrote like 20 cent, like half a page email. but then I often find that people get offended by my writing, which is actually a good thing. That means that my writing packs an emotional impact. So people get offended. So I sat down, cooled my head, and I deleted all but one sentence. I am working with another broker. But the subject line was, "You are fired." So cool, brief and to the point. Very nice. No name calling, nothing. But anyway, so that was my unsuccessful attempt number 2. So the first is leasing company, right? No, too specialized. Second is my old truck financing, Kenworth. No, we are too busy. We mostly deal with trucks. That was my experience, my impression. And the third one, of course, and what most people do, of course, if you buy a trailer from an actual manufacturer, right? Like I was looking at this Parent Lodestar and Sheltima trailer and J&J. They often have their own financing, because they're the manufacturer, right? So they have their own financing in the house. Or they outsource to a financial company that they often work with. And so when I did the spec with a parent, I said, who do you guys deal with in terms of financing? And so they referred me to this lady by the name of Lease. And so I thought that's like, clear indication. So I should be able to get a capital lease on the trailer. And she started looking, and eventually she approved me. But it took her like, I think 2 days or 3 days or something. And by that time, I was losing patience, and I emailed the seller in US, the dealer, and I said, sorry for the delay. I cannot find anybody to give me the contract, for the money. And he said, try this guy. And so the actual seller, you see, they know somebody, kind of like they refer me to the guy they work with in Canada. And I look at the info, and it says that this guy works for one of the major bank in Canada, and of course that leads me right back to my original point where I say that it's always the best ways to get money from the bank, not from the dealer, not from the financial broker. That's the cheapest way, is the bank, because they will often give you the best rate. But banks, they also nowadays do the same thing. They shop around, right? If they don't want to, if let's say CIBC or Royal Bank cannot give you the loan from themselves, they will shop around and they kind of sell you to another company. They'll charge you a fee, a commission, but they'll say, hey, we found you a contract, let's say with IBC, Royal Bank will say, hey, we found you a contract with these guys. And so this guy, I did the application. He sends me a notice of consent, right? I did the application in the morning, and then at 2 o'clock on the same day, I receive an email saying that I'm approved. What? And right before that happened, I was already talking to Rogers Trailers, and again the same route. He's not a manufacturer, right, but the dealer. I talked to the dealer, and I say, hey, who do you guys work for? Do you know anybody for financing? Because then if I can get your trailer, if I'm approved, I said, I'm okay waiting 16 weeks, like he said. And so he gives me this guy that I have the business card here. This is called Execucor Financial Limited. And I look at this logo, these two horses, and somehow they sound familiar. And the memory is not very pleasant. Like I'm thinking, when did I meet somebody from this company? And I remember a guy wearing a long coat. It was winter. He came with a girlfriend. I was financing something. And then I remembered why it was kind of like a sad memory, because the guy approved me for something. I don't remember what it was, but it was not a trailer. I think it was either a car or a pickup truck, something like that. But he approved me, and we met at a coffee shop to sign and everything. Like he sent me an email, hey, you approved. and for some reason he comes with a girlfriend, and they together are like, you know, pushing on me psychologically. And then right before we sign everything, he says, there was a separate page where it says, I owe him a document fee. I think it was $500. Again, I don't remember what kind of loan it was, but like I went to these guys, and I remember I was very angry. I was very upset because this guy never mentioned this before, and only when your application is approved, they hit you with this, you know, $500. Oh, it's a standard fee, which is total BS. It's not standard, but that's how they make the money, right? And so I looked at this, and that's when I remembered this. But I remembered only after. No, wait a second. No, during the lunch. So this is right as I'm sitting there waiting for this big bank to give me an answer, right? So Roger's dealer gave me this guy, and we agreed on a meeting, and we met at a bar in Cambridge. And I remembered that I wanted to ask him this question. I said, do you charge any fees? And he says, well, you know how this works? I said, well, tell me. And he says, well, we shop around, we find a deal, and then we add a couple of points on the interest rate, and then we charge a document fee, which is a standard fee like what a lawyer would charge or a mortgage broker. And I said, really? And he says, well, all banks charge that fee, but he says often you don't see it. It's like buried in the paperwork. But honestly, that's not my experience. Like if I go to, let's say, my old leasing company, right, and we do a lease, let's say I'm buying a new trailer, like when I was getting this Fontaine, well, there can be an administration fee, but it's nowhere near $500, what I'm trying to say. So I will put this info in the back of this video just because the guy paid for my lunch, and it is a legitimate way to get money because, you know, I signed the application, and actually his application was very complicated. So I complained about this, and he said, well, just, you know, fill out the top and sign it, and I'll do the rest when we meet. And then when we met, he filled out the rest, but it was too many information, like non-relevant. But he was very professional. He knew what he was talking about. And then I emailed him. I said, I already got approved. I said, I'm going with this bank because, you know, I like the fact that it was done by a major bank in Canada. But he said the paperwork was already submitted, and so let's just see, maybe they'll give us a better interest rate, or maybe they can put off the first payment further down, because this guy, the deal I'm getting is I give him 10,000 bucks Canadian plus 13% sales tax, and then the first payment after that is 45 days down the road. And then the next one after that is 30 days. And these two first payments are kind of like large, you know, like I think the first one was like $5,000, the second one was $3,000, and after that it goes down to the regular, I believe it's about 2,500 Canadian. For the trailer and the flip. And so the guy says he already submitted everything. It's, let's just see. And I said, okay, let's do that. And he asked me to mention him on YouTube. So that's what I'm doing. Just, you know, out of gratitude for the free lunch, so to speak. But again, and I wanted to take this opportunity and just explain to you guys the dangers of this. But of course, you know, if you're shopping around, and let's say in my case, right, I hardly can make money without a trailer, so I need a trailer. A trailer is 109,000 US, right? And so even if I have to pay $500 Canadian, which is like 350 US, if the guy guarantees me like good, you know, good terms and everything is above board, I'm okay with that, right? Because you pay a small fee, but you get kind of like a much better return, because you can get the trailer and you can start making good money, right? The only issue I have with these guys is that they don't tell you about this fee only until they have the solution, until they tell you that you are approved. And I really think that should be they should change that, because that's not fair, right? It's like, you know, you're buying a car and then they put it behind the seat, behind the wheel, and you drive around and you like it, and the guy says, okay, you approved, but there's a $2,000 tire fee because you're getting new tires or something like that, you know? It's kind of like these hidden fees. I don't like them. I'm, as my former boss used to joke, he says, I'm a straight shooter. And usually when people tell you that they are straight shooters, it means that they're not straight shooters, because a straight shooter doesn't have to say that about himself, right? But anyway, so I like to be a straight shooter, right? I like to cut through the BS, and I like taking a complex idea and explain it in simple terms, because maybe it's my background as a teacher of PT. Just kidding. No, but I was I was doing PT in high school because they didn't have a instructor, right? Physical training. And I was doing PT, but of course my main subject was English back in Russia. But I think that's just my nature. I like explaining things, you know. Maybe that's why I'm getting more and more subscribers, because even though some of these videos can be boring, and I apologize for that, but I think we're getting to that 100,000 subscriber, and I promise that number 100,000 subscriber will get a free coffee. Okay, Starbucks coffee, something expensive. No, I'm kidding. We know, who are we kidding? We know we're never gonna get to 100,000 subscribers. Like, the market for this stuff that I'm doing, it's very limited. We're not doing any comedy on the street, any practical jokes. We're talking about trucking and the boring subjects like financing, where to find the money. Who needs this? Very limited base. But anyway, so there you go, right? That's how I found the money. So eventually the people I used to work with did not work out, right? Like the leasing company, the Canworth, didn't work out. I had to find new contacts, and when I tried to do it on my own, and, you know, asking dealers, it didn't work out. Well, 50%, because the Lodestar lady, lease, she found me the lease, surprisingly, but she was too slow, unfortunately. It took her 3 days, 2.5 days. So the dealer, the US dealer, proved to be a winner, right? Because he wants to sell his stuff. You know, it's in his interest to help you get financing, right? And so he gave me the right contact. The guy was fast. He's Canadian. He works at a bank. You know, that's like a win-win. I have no idea what my interest is. I just look at the payments. They seem okay. And the buyout, $1, just what I'm used to. But it's a capital lease, like what they usually do here in Canada. So for me, I'm used to that. But I just wanted to mention this. So that's how you get the money, right? You just basically, you poke in all directions wherever you can, and something shakes loose. And this is one of the opportunities that can help you, but you just need to always ask up front about any hidden fees, you know, and try to get as close to the source of the money as possible, like a bank or some big financial institution or something, you know, or preferably somebody like what I asked this guy. I said, how many 60-ton trailers did you help finance or lease, you know? Because it's not easy. Like when you go with a, let's say, 35-ton, 40-ton trailer, it's okay. But once you get into this kind of like, what I'm doing is already considered specialized, you know. It's like heavy haul can be, of course, anything. It can be 50-ton trailer, 45. But once you get to 60-ton, people start running away in fear, you know, scared. Nicht schießen. Like, come on. And so that's what I would ask, like the two questions. How much experience you have financing or leasing the equipment you're trying to finance or lease? Like in my case, a 60-ton. And secondly, what kind of fees am I gonna be faced with if you get me the financing. Okay, so once you ask them these two questions, then you'll have more information at your disposal, and you can decide who you want to work with, right? Thanks for watching. Captain Sergei out. So I promise this is the last talking head video before I get the 60 tons. So the next video we're gonna be whistling and bobtailing, hopefully down to Alabama. But I posted my truck on the load board, asking, saying that power only available. But what funny thing happens with this is that usually it doesn't even matter where you want to go, or like if you post your truck, let's say in Ontario, somebody will call you and say, hey, we have a load in Newfoundland that has to go to Nova Scotia. Well, that's an extreme example, but in this case, the guy, I posted the truck as available for power only, like to tow somebody's trailer, and I said the 4axle truck can do a heavy load, but I said the empty weight 27,000, so I cannot do like a van with 50,000 pounds inside. I cannot do that, right? So it must be 27, so I can only do 53,000 trailer and load. So that kind of like limits my options, right? And so I put that, so power only available in Ontario sometime next week, and going to, and there's an option there that says multi-states, and I just chose like South US, like Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, stuff like that. And so this guy calls me today, actually, on Saturday. He calls me and he says he's a broker. I think the number was somewhere from US, but anyway, so he says he saw my listing that my truck is available, and I'm already smiling and I'm waiting, like where he wants me to go or from where. And he says, I have a load in Ontario and I see that you posted your truck. I got a load from Ontario, Canada that needs like power only truck, but it goes to and I'm like, okay, go ahead. And he says, New Brunswick. And New Brunswick is east of Quebec, right? New Brunswick is eastern Canada. Basically, I'm trying to go from Ontario southwest to Alabama. This guy has a load from Ontario going east, further east into Canada. And I said, I'm sorry, like that's like, what am I supposed to do? Go to New Brunswick and then 2,000 miles to Alabama? So I said, no, I cannot do that. Either I bobtail empty down there, pick up the trailer, or I find something like going halfway, maybe like, like to the states that I'll be passing, like maybe Indiana, I don't know, Illinois, stuff like that, Kansas, Missouri, on the way to Alabama, right? So anyway, this will be our next video, driving. So I should get the money next week. The contract should be signed, and I mentioned this on Facebook. What's funny is that now, instead of 2 license plates, like before I had 1 plate for the trailer and 1 for the flip axle, I will have 3 plates, because only 2 axles are fixed on the trailer and 2 are flips. So a flip axle has to have its own tag or plate. So it'll be funny. It'll be 1 plate will be, so I will need to have 3 unit numbers. So let's say 306, 307, 308, because my truck is 305. So it's going to be funny. It's going to be confusing as heck to cops and permit service companies, but that's what makes life interesting. Captain Sergei out.